So the disciples of Jesus do not know him by sight. I mean, they're looking at him, but they don't know him. That much is clearly stated in the text, which is why I think it's odd that they do exactly what he tells them to do. Did y'all catch this? They don't know who he is, but they do exactly what he tells them to do. Namely, they cast their nets again onto the right side of the boat. So this is like somebody showing up tomorrow morning at your office or your home, and you've got your day plan, and you're kind of doing what you do, right? And then some stranger knocks on the window outside of your office or your kitchen. You lift the window, and they shout at you something to do. A stranger. And you do it. It's really a strange sort of scene. And so I wonder what to make of that. What do we make of that? Well, actually, as I've reflected upon it, I think it's actually very simple. They know his voice. No, they know the voice of Jesus, and I don't mean that they recognize his accent or his affect or his word choice. Oh yeah, Jesus always said that. I don't mean it in that way. What I mean is this. I think they recognize his voice. And when the sound hits their ears, they recognize the love that is the depth dimension, like the marrow of Jesus' voice. Well, I remember, did you remember this when you heard this text? I remember that earlier in the gospel, Jesus said, I am the good shepherd, and my sheep know my voice. When they hear it, said Jesus, when they hear my voice, they follow the sound. You remember what he said after that? It's a great text. He said they don't follow a stranger. Why not? Because they don't know the sound of the voice of the stranger. That's right there in the text. But he says, you know my voice. So the voice of Jesus is, check this out, the voice of Jesus is the actual sound of love. And his sheep know the sound. His sheep know the sound to be trustworthy and true, so they follow the sound of love. His voice. Somebody said, put that on the street. Okay. See if this works. So many of you know that my big sister, my oldest sister, died just a few months ago in late January. And a few weeks before she died, we talked on the phone every single morning, early in the morning, before the sun woke up even. And over again, Laura, her name is Laura. Laura asked me over and over again to pray a particular prayer. She said to me, Hendree, and we knew she was going to die. She said, Hendree, I want you to pray the prayer that goes like this. Keep watch, dear Lord, with those who work or watch or weep this night. And give your angels, what is it, Hendree? What is it? Give your angels charge over those who sleep, she said. She said, I can't remember the rest of it. This darn cancer's got my brain all messed up, she said. Actually, full credit to Laura, she did not say darn. But we're in church, and it's a baby here. If you got brain cancer, you're allowed to cuss a little bit. Do you know it, she said? Do you know the prayer? Oh, I hope you know it, she said, because I want to hear you pray it. You pray it. Do you know it? I said, I know it. I said, yeah, I know that prayer. I do, I know that prayer. And I was glad. I was glad that I had something that she wanted to give to her so near the end. I do know the prayer. I said to her, it's from Compline. You remember, it's from Compline, out of the Book of Common Prayer, the Compline service. I said, Laura, you remember we used to pray it? And she finished my sentence, every night at Camp Michael as we wrap down the day. Yes, 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 she said, that's the one. Will you pray it? of course. I said to her, of course. And I reached for my prayer book. And over again, I prayed the prayer whenever she asked in those final days. And one day along the way, shortly before she died, I thought to myself, I'll record this prayer for her on my phone. A little text memo or whatever it is. And then I'll text it to her so that she can hear it anytime she wants. See, she couldn't read anymore because the cancer stole her vision. So I did just that. I recorded myself reading the prayer, and I texted it to her. She couldn't always get me on the phone, so when she couldn't, she could listen to the prayer on the voice message. And she called me the next day after I sent her that recording of that prayer, and she said to me, "Oh, thank you." She said, "Hendree, thank you so much." And she said it in a voice, her voice, that was at once really weary and at once really strong. And I realized something, she said. Like when she called me to say thank you, she said, I realized something. It's not the words of the prayer that I needed to hear. It's not the words of the prayer. She said, it's your voice. Huh? It's your voice that I love, said my big sister. She said, it's your voice. It's so good to hear your voice. I love your voice. And I said, I love your voice too. I love it. Your voice is what I needed. There's such deep power. Real power in the sound of our voices. And our voices, like your voice, every one of you, our voices are gifts from the Good Shepherd himself. And as such, what a responsibility. They bring us, you see, we ought to be careful, full of care with our voices. We ought to steward them well. Because you know what you can do with a voice, right? You can build up with a voice in all the best ways, but you can also tear down in all the worst ways with a voice. You can use a voice to shout in anger. Or flip the coin, baby. You can use a voice to shout for joy. We can use our voices to complain. Or flip the coin. We can use our voices to congratulate. Best of all. Y'all with me? Best of all, we can use our voices for love. What Big Sister taught me, I didn't know it, y'all. What Big Sister taught me right before she died, like final lesson, is that your voice, my voice, our voices can be given as a gift to someone who really needs to hear. The love-drenched depth dimension of a voice. And the sound of Jesus' voice is the actual sound of love. That's what those guys heard when they were out in that boat having no luck. They heard the sound, the actual sound of love. And you know what the deal with the sound of love is? Like, this is what we're baptizing you into. When you're lost. Anybody ever get lost? God, I do. I may be lost right now, y'all. When you're lost, yes, you do, baby. When you're lost, you can listen for the sound of love. When you're confused or sad or full of doubt, we can listen for the sound of Jesus' voice. Somebody said, I never hear anything. Some people say they hear stuff. I never hear anything. You do too. Stop it. Stop it. You do hear. You see, we can close our eyes, right? We can breathe deep down into our bellies. We can sink below the sound of the voices of the many strangers and listen for the sound of the Good Shepherd. The actual sound of love swelling in our ears or in our hearts. The actual sound of love coming from the mouths of the people who love us so. We can also hear the voice of Jesus, the actual sound of love in nature. In the spring breeze that blows across the bluegrass this time of year, whispering, love. My sheep know my voice. Virginia Adair is one of Jesus' beloved, most favored sheep. And what we're about today is pledging and promising that we're going to teach you, Virginia Adair, to listen for the sound of Jesus' voice, for the actual sound of love. Little one, we're going to teach you to give sound of love from your own voice. We're going to teach you that you can always listen for the voice of Jesus and the love that expresses it. And you know, sometimes this little one, maybe sometimes she'll hear it out loud. That happens. Other times, maybe she'll hear the voice of love stirring in her heart, sort of below volume. That happens too. What I know is this. She's going to hear the voice of love from her parents. Huh? What I know is this. She's going to hear the voice of love from her godparents sitting right there. What I know is this. She's going to hear the voice of love from all of you, her church. What I know is this. Whether she hears it or not, the voice of Jesus will always be calling to her, calling her back to home base, calling her back to love, to fullness and peace. She'll know the voice. She'll follow the sound. You know the voice. So listen for the sound of love, dear ones. That is the voice of Jesus. Follow the sound. And know this. Love, baby girl, is all. All. Don't you ever let anybody tell you otherwise. Love is all. There's a sound to it. Listen. Amen. Shall we baptize? Let's do it.